The year was 2157, and Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon, watching the stars through the main window. Earth looked peaceful below them, its blue oceans and white clouds spinning slowly in the darkness of space. Jake had been patrolling this sector for 3 months without seeing anything unusual. Space was quiet, just the way he liked it. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Mary Johnson from her station, "I'm getting some strange readings on the long-range sensors." Jake walked over to her console and looked at the screen. 12 large objects were moving toward Earth from the outer edge of the solar system. They were big, much bigger than any human ship ever built. "How big are we talking about?" Jake asked. "Each one is about 10 times the size of our largest battleship," Mary replied. "They're not showing up on any of our ship databases." Jake felt his stomach tighten. In all his years of service, he had never seen anything like this. The objects moved in perfect formation, like they knew exactly where they were going. "Send a message to Luna Base," Jake ordered. "Tell Admiral Lisa Grant we have unknown vessels approaching Earth. Big ones." On the alien flagship, Commander Zeth Kar looked at the small blue planet ahead of them. His 4 eyes studied the primitive world with interest. The Altarian Empire had conquered over 400 worlds, and this one would be no different from the others. "Report," Zeth Kar commanded in his deep, rumbling voice. "We have detected several small vessels in orbit around the planet," reported his second-in-command, Captain Vexter. "Their technology appears to be very basic. Primitive fusion drives, simple weapons, basic shields." Zeth Kar nodded. This was exactly what he expected. Every species they had encountered followed the same pattern. They built small ships, had weak weapons, and surrendered quickly when faced with the might of the Council. "Any signs of advanced technology?" Zeth Kar asked. "None, Commander. They appear to be at the same level as the other species we conquered in this sector. Perhaps even more primitive." Zeth Kar allowed himself a smile. The Galactic Council had sent him to bring this world into their empire. It would be quick work. The humans would see their massive ships, realize they could not win, and surrender. Then they would become another slave race, working for the glory of the Council. Back on Earth, President Kevin Hayes sat in the emergency meeting room deep under the White House. The room was filled with military officers, scientists, and government officials. Everyone looked worried. "What do we know about these ships?" President Hayes asked. Admiral Grant stood up and pointed to the large screen showing the alien fleet. "They're unlike anything we've ever seen. Our best guess is that they're not from Earth." "Aliens?" asked Dr. Susan Clark, the head of Earth's xenobiology program. "Are we sure?" "The technology doesn't match anything in our databases," Admiral Grant replied. "And the ships are too big for any human nation to have built in secret." President Hayes looked around the room. "Options?" "We could try to communicate with them," suggested Dr. Helen Brooks, the head of the linguistics department. "Maybe they're peaceful." "Or we could prepare our defenses," said General Amy Foster. "If they're hostile, we need to be ready." "President." Hayes nodded slowly. "Do both. Try to make contact, but get our ships ready for battle." On the New Horizon, Jake watched as the alien ships got closer. They were massive, dark shapes that blocked out the stars. Each ship had a strange design, with curved surfaces and glowing lights. They looked powerful and dangerous. "Captain," Mary said, "I'm getting a transmission from the lead ship." "Put it on the main screen," Jake ordered. The screen flickered, and suddenly they were looking at an alien face. It had 4 eyes, gray skin, and a mouth full of sharp teeth. When it spoke, its voice was deep and threatening. "I am Commander Zeth Kar of the Altarian Empire," the alien said. "This world is now under the authority of the Galactic Council. You will surrender immediately, or we will take it by force." Jake felt anger rise in his chest. These aliens had come to his home, threatened his people, and demanded surrender without even trying to talk first. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the Earth Defense Force," he replied. "Earth is not surrendering to anyone. If you want to talk, we can talk, but we won't be conquered." On the alien ship, Zethkar was surprised. Usually, primitive species begged for mercy when they saw the Council fleet. This human was different. He seemed calm, even defiant. "You do not understand," Zethkar said. "We have conquered 400 worlds. Your technology is primitive. Your ships are small. You cannot win against us." "Maybe not," Jake replied. "But we're going to try." Zethkar ended the transmission and turned to his officers. "Prepare the fleet for battle. Show them what happens when a species refuses the Council's offer." Back on Earth, Dr. Clark was already working on analyzing the alien transmission. She had recorded everything about their appearance, their technology, and their behavior. "They're confident," she told her team. "Too confident. They think we're just another primitive species that will roll over and give up." "Are we?" asked Dr. Martinez, her assistant. "No," Dr. Clark said firmly. "Humans don't give up. We never have, and we learn fast." As the alien fleet moved closer to Earth, both sides prepared for what was coming. The aliens expected a quick victory over a primitive species. The humans prepared to fight for their freedom, their planet, and their future. Neither side knew that this battle would change the galaxy forever. 3 weeks after the first contact, General Vorthek arrived with the second wave of the Council fleet. He was a warrior who had conquered 15 worlds for the Empire. His ship, the Devastator, was twice the size of any vessel in the first wave. "Report on the situation," Vorthek demanded as soon as he reached the command center. Commander Zethkar looked uncomfortable. "The humans are not different from what we expected, General." "Different how?" Vorthek asked, his voice getting dangerous. "They don't fight like other species. They keep changing their tactics. Every time we think we understand them, they do something new." Vorthek studied the battle reports on his screen. The humans had smaller ships, weaker weapons, and fewer soldiers. Yet they had been holding off the Council fleet for 3 weeks. "Show me," Vorthek ordered. The screen displayed the latest battle. Human ships moved in patterns that made no sense. They would attack, retreat, then attack from a completely different direction. Sometimes they would ram their ships into alien vessels, sacrificing themselves to cause damage. "They're not following standard military doctrine," Zethkar explained. "They fight like wild animals, but smart ones." On Earth, Colonel Amy Foster was briefing her ground forces. The aliens had tried to land troops on the planet's surface 5 times. Each time, her soldiers had driven them back. "Listen up," Amy told her troops. "The aliens are bigger than us. They're stronger than us. Their weapons are better than ours. But we have something they don't understand." "What's that, Colonel?" asked Sergeant Dan Cooper. "We're human," Amy replied. "We adapt. We learn. We survive." Dan nodded. He had seen it himself during the last battle. The alien soldiers had energy shields that stopped bullets and explosions. But when Dan threw a rock at one of them, the shield flickered and failed. The aliens hadn't programmed their shields to stop simple physical objects. "Their shields can't handle everything," Amy continued. Cooper figured out that rocks work. Martinez discovered that water shorts out their suits. Williams found out that bright lights blind them for several seconds. The soldiers looked more confident now. They were learning to fight these aliens, finding weaknesses that the Council had never had to worry about before. In space, Captain Rick Turner commanded the Defiant Spirit, a small human warship. His ship was 1/10 the size of the alien vessels, but it was fast and hard to hit. "Come on, you ugly monsters," Rick muttered as he flew straight at the alien formation. "Let's see how you handle this." The aliens fired their massive weapons. At his ship, Rick spun and twisted, barely avoiding the energy blasts. He flew right through the center of their formation, firing at their engines and weapon systems. "This is insane," said his co-pilot, Lieutenant Sarah Martinez. "We're going to get killed." "Maybe," Rick replied, "but we're going to make them pay for it." The human ship was too small and too fast for the aliens to target effectively. Rick had learned that their big weapons couldn't track small, fast-moving objects. He used this weakness to strike at the alien ships and escape before they could. Respond. Dr. Helen Brooks was working around the clock to understand the alien communications. She had intercepted thousands of messages between the alien ships. "I'm starting to understand their language," she told President Hayes during their daily briefing. "And what I'm learning is interesting." "What do you mean?" the president asked. "They're not just conquerors," Helen explained. "They're part of something much bigger. They call it the Galactic Council. They've conquered hundreds of worlds, and they've never lost a battle." President Hayes felt a chill. "Never?" "Never. Every species they've encountered has surrendered or been destroyed. We're the first to fight back for this long." Meanwhile, Dr. Susan Clark was studying captured alien technology. The humans had managed to shoot down several alien fighters, and she was examining the wreckage. "Their technology is advanced," she told her team, "but it's not magical. It follows the same physical laws as our technology, which means we can understand it." "Can we copy it?" asked Dr. Martinez. "Better than that," Susan replied. "We can improve it. Their designs are efficient, but they're not creative. They build everything the same way, follow the same patterns. We can use that against them." The breakthrough came when Dr. Martinez was examining an alien power core. He noticed that all the alien ships used the same type of energy system. "They're all connected," he realized. "The ships share information through their power systems. If we could disrupt that, we could blind their entire fleet," Susan finished. "Get me a team. We're going to build something that will change this war." Back on the alien flagship, Vorthek was growing frustrated. His forces had been fighting the humans for a week, and they were no closer to victory. "These creatures are impossible," complained Captain Vexter. "They don't follow any logical patterns. They sacrifice themselves for no strategic gain. They use primitive weapons in ways we never expected." "They're learning," Vorthek said quietly. "Every battle, they get a little bit better, a little bit more dangerous." "Impossible," Vexter replied. "No species learns that fast." Vorthek wasn't so sure. He had noticed that the human attacks were getting more effective. They were targeting weak points in the alien ships that shouldn't have been obvious to a primitive species. "Send a message to the Council," Vorthek ordered. "Tell them we need reinforcements." "Sir?" Vexter was surprised. "For one primitive world?" "This is not a primitive world," Vorthek replied. "This is something else. Something we've never encountered before." On Earth, the humans were preparing for the next assault. They had learned from each battle, adapted their tactics, and improved their weapons. They were still outgunned and outnumbered, but they were not giving up. Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the New Horizon, looking at the alien fleet. The ships were still bigger, still more powerful, but they didn't seem quite as scary as they had 3 weeks ago. "Captain," Mary Johnson called out, "I'm detecting some kind of energy buildup in the alien fleet." "I think they're preparing for a major assault." Jake nodded. "Alert all ships. This is going to be a big one." As both sides prepared for the next battle, neither realized that word of the conflict was already spreading throughout the galaxy. For the first time in centuries, a species was successfully resisting the Council. And across the stars, Other enslaved worlds were beginning to wonder if freedom might be possible. After all, Dr. Martinez wiped sweat from his forehead as he worked on the captured alien technology. For 3 months, he had been studying every piece of alien equipment the humans had recovered. Now, finally, he had made a breakthrough that would change everything. "I've got it," he announced to his team. "I know how their whole system works." Dr. Clark hurried over to his workstation. "Show me." Martinez pointed to a complex diagram on his screen. "The Council keeps their member species at different technology levels on purpose. The warriors get better weapons, the workers get basic tools, and the scientists get research equipment. But none of them get everything. Why would they do that?" asked Dr. Brooks. "Control," Martinez replied. "If any species had access to all the technology, they might rebel, so the Council keeps everyone dependent on them." Dr. Clark understood immediately. That's why they're so confident. They've never faced a species that could adapt and improve this quickly. "Exactly," Martinez said. "And now we can use their own technology against them." Meanwhile, Admiral Morrison was planning the biggest operation in human history. The humans had been defending Earth for months, but now it was time to take the fight to the enemy. "Operation Prometheus starts tonight," he told his commanders. "We're going to hit their supply lines, their communication centers, and their command ships, all at the same time." Captain Turner raised his hand. "Sir, we've never attacked outside our solar system before. Are we ready for this?" "We have to." "B," Morrison replied. "The aliens are bringing in more ships every week. If we don't strike now, we'll be overwhelmed." The plan was bold and dangerous. Human ships would use captured alien technology to jump deep into Council space. They would attack multiple targets at once, then retreat before the enemy could respond. "Remember," Morrison told his pilots, "we're not trying to conquer territory. We're trying to send a message. We want the galaxy to know that the Council can be hurt." Lieutenant Colonel Beth Warner was leading the most dangerous part of the mission. Her team would board an alien command ship and steal their intelligence files. "This is a one-way trip," she told her soldiers. "We might not make it back, but the information on that ship could help us win this war." Sergeant Cooper checked his equipment one more time. "We're ready, Colonel. Let's go show these aliens what humans can do." The attack began at midnight, Earth time. Human ships appeared throughout Council space, striking at targets the aliens thought were safe. The Council had never faced coordinated attacks across such a vast area. On the alien flagship, alarms were blaring. Commander Zethkar ran to the command center, where chaos reigned. "Report," he shouted. "Attacks on 17 different systems," replied a panicked officer. "Supply convoys destroyed, communication relays offline, 3 command posts captured." Zethkar couldn't believe what he was hearing. The humans were supposed to be trapped in their own solar system. How were they attacking Council worlds? "How is this possible?" he demanded. "Unknown, sir. The attacks are coordinated and precise. They're hitting exactly the right targets to cause maximum damage." General Vorthik arrived just as another report came in. "The humans have captured the intelligence ship Nexus Prime. All classified files have been taken." "Impossible," Vorthik growled. "That ship was in the core systems. Humans can't travel that far." "Apparently they can," Zethkar replied grimly. On the captured ship, Colonel Warner and her team were downloading everything they could find. The alien computers contained detailed information about the Council's entire empire. "Look at this," said Sergeant Cooper, studying one of the files. "The Council controls over 400 worlds, but most of them hate being ruled by aliens." "And this," added another soldier, pointing to another screen. 3 worlds have already started rebelling since our war began. The Council is fighting on multiple fronts. Horner smiled. Download everything. This information is going to be very useful. Back on Earth, Dr. Clark was analyzing the intelligence they had gathered. What she found was incredible. The Council isn't as strong as they pretend to be, she told President Hayes. They're barely holding their empire together. Our resistance has inspired other species to fight back. Which species? Hayes asked. The Zephyrians started rebelling 2 months ago. The Korthans are refusing to send troops to fight us. Even? The Nexus Collective is showing signs of independent thought. President Hayes felt hope for the first time in months. So we're not alone in this fight? Not anymore, Clark replied. The galaxy is watching us. And they're starting to believe that the Council can be beaten. The news got even better when Dr. Martinez announced his latest discovery. I've developed a computer virus that targets the aliens' bioneural networks. It won't kill them, but it will make them experience human emotions. What do you mean? Asked Dr. Brooks. Fear, doubt, empathy, Martinez explained. The Council species don't naturally feel these emotions. But if we can make them feel what we feel, they might start questioning their orders. The virus was tested on captured alien soldiers. The results were immediate and dramatic. The aliens became confused, hesitant, and started asking questions about the morality of their actions. This is incredible, Dr. Clark said. We're not just fighting them physically. We're changing how they think. Meanwhile, Captain Turner was leading raids deep into Council territory. His ship, the Defiant Spirit, had been modified with alien technology. It was faster and more powerful than any human ship ever built. Target the command vessel, Turner ordered as they approached a Council fleet. Take out their communications, then get us out of here. The human ship struck like lightning, disabling the alien command ship before disappearing into hyperspace. It was a tactic the Council had never encountered before. They're like ghosts, reported one alien commander. They appear, strike, and vanish before we can respond. The psychological effect was devastating. Council forces began to fear human attacks, never knowing when or where they would strike next. On Earth, the mood was changing. The humans were no longer just defending their world. They were winning battles across the galaxy. We're not just fighting for Earth anymore, Admiral Morrison told his officers. We're fighting for every enslaved world in the galaxy. We're fighting for freedom itself. The war was entering a new phase. The Council was no longer fighting to conquer one primitive world. They were fighting to save their entire empire from collapse. And deep in Council space, on worlds that had been enslaved for centuries, beings were looking up at the stars and daring to hope for the first time in their lives. The humans had shown them that the Council could be defeated. The galaxy would never be the same. Admiral Lisa Grant stood on the bridge of the Freedom's Voice, the first human ship to be built entirely from captured alien technology. Around her, a fleet of 30 vessels prepared to jump deep into Council space. This was the boldest mission humanity had ever attempted. All ships report ready, announced Captain Lara Peterson from the communications station. The fleet is prepared to jump. Grant nodded. Take us to the Zephyrian system. It's time to liberate our first world. The jump through hyperspace took only minutes, but when they emerged, they found something unexpected. The Zephyrian world was already at war. Alien ships were fighting each other in orbit above the planet. What are we seeing? Grant asked. The Zephyrians are fighting the Council garrison, replied Lieutenant Commander Steve Jackson. They started their rebellion 3 days ago. Grant smiled. Then we're right on time. All ships support the rebels. Let's show the galaxy what freedom looks like. The human fleet joined the battle, tipping the balance in favor of the Zephyrians. The Council ships, surprised by the sudden appearance of human forces, began to retreat. "This is Admiral Grant of the Earth Liberation Fleet," she broadcast on all frequencies. "To all beings fighting for freedom, humanity stands with you." On the planet below, the Zephyrians had never seen anything like the human ships. They were smaller than Council vessels, but they moved with precision and purpose. Most importantly, they were fighting to help others gain freedom. "The humans have come to help us," reported Zephyrian Commander Kelthara to her people. "The stories we heard are true. They really are fighting the Council. The battle was over in hours. The Council forces fled, leaving the Zephyrians free, for the first time in 200 years. But the humans didn't try to take control of the planet. Instead, they offered assistance and friendship. "We're not here to conquer," Grant explained to the Zephyrian leaders. "We're here to help you stay free." Meanwhile, Dr. Helen Brooks was working on something that would change the war forever. She had been studying the intelligence captured from Council ships, and she had discovered something incredible. "The Council's greatest weakness isn't military," she told her team. "It's psychological. They've ruled for so long that they can't imagine losing." "What do you mean?" asked Dr. Martinez. "They've never faced a real challenge," Brooks explained. "Every species they've conquered has given up quickly. They don't know how to handle prolonged resistance." Brooks had developed a new type of weapon: propaganda. Messages that would be broadcast across the galaxy, telling the story of humanity's resistance and inspiring other species to fight back. "We're going to flood their communication networks with the truth," she said. "Every being in the galaxy will know that the Council can be defeated." The propaganda campaign began immediately. Human broadcasts reached every world in Council space, telling the story of Earth's resistance and showing footage of human victories. "This is the voice of freedom," the broadcasts began. "For too long, the Council has told you that resistance is impossible. We are here to prove them wrong." The effect was immediate and dramatic. On world after world, enslaved species began to question their rulers. Some started small acts of defiance. Others began planning full rebellions. Captain Rick Turner was leading one of the most dangerous missions of the war. His ship, the Defiant Spirit, was deep in Council space, working with rebel groups on the Corthan homeworld. "The Corthans are natural warriors," he reported to Admiral Morrison. "They've been forced to fight for the Council for centuries, but now they want to fight for themselves." The Corthan rebellion was different from the Zephyrian uprising. The Corthans were strong, aggressive fighters who had been the Council's most feared soldiers. When they turned against their masters, the results were devastating. "Council forces are retreating from the entire Corthan sector," reported one of Turner's officers. "The rebels are taking control of military bases and weapons factories." But the most important development was happening in the Nexus Collective. These beings were part organic, part machine, and they had been the Council's most loyal servants. But Dr. Martinez's emotion virus was affecting them in unexpected ways. "The Nexus are starting to think for themselves," Dr. Clark reported. "They're questioning their programming for the first time in their existence." The virus spread through the Nexus Collective like wildfire. Suddenly, beings who had been perfect servants began to wonder why they were serving masters who treated them like machines. "We are more than tools," declared Nexus Unit Prime 7, the first artificial being to declare independence from the Council. "We are individuals. We deserve freedom." The rebellion of the Nexus Collective was the final blow to the Council's power. Their most advanced technology, their most reliable servants, and their most powerful weapons were all turning against them. On Earth, President Hayes was meeting with representatives from liberated worlds. The small blue planet had become the center of a growing alliance of free species. "The Galactic Liberation Alliance grows stronger every day," he told the assembled delegates. "Together, we can ensure that freedom spreads to every corner of the galaxy." The alliance was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of one species ruling over others, it was a partnership of equals. Each world contributed what it could, and all shared in the benefits. We're not building an empire, Hayes continued. We're building a community, a place where every being can live in freedom and dignity. But the Council wasn't giving up without a fight. They had gathered their remaining forces for one final assault on Earth. If they could crush humanity, they believed they could stop the rebellion. Massive Council fleet approaching Earth, reported the orbital defense stations. Over 200 ships, including their newest dreadnoughts. Admiral Morrison looked at the tactical display. The Council fleet was enormous, probably the largest military force ever assembled. But the humans weren't alone anymore. Signal the Alliance. Fleet, he ordered. Tell them we need help. Within hours, ships from dozens of worlds were jumping into Earth's system. Zephyrian cruisers, Corthan battleships, and even vessels from the Nexus Collective arrived to defend the world that had inspired their freedom. This is it, Morrison announced to the combined fleet. The Council is making their final stand. If we win here, the galaxy will be free. The battle was massive, involving over 400 ships on both sides. But the Alliance had something the Council lacked. They were fighting for something they believed in. For freedom, came the cry from 1,000 different species, all united in their determination to end the Council's rule forever. The Council fleet, for all its power, couldn't stand against beings who were fighting for their homes, their families, and their future. One by one, their ships were destroyed or surrendered. When the battle was over, the Council's power was broken. Their empire, built over centuries of conquest, collapsed in a matter of hours. Signal all worlds, Morrison ordered. The Council is defeated. The galaxy is free. Across the stars, beings who had been enslaved for generations looked up at the sky and knew that their children would grow up in freedom. The age of the Council was over. The age of liberty had begun. 6 months after the final battle, Admiral Jake Morrison walked through the halls of the Council's former capital. The massive building that had once housed the galaxy's most powerful government was now being converted into the headquarters of the Galactic Federation. It's hard to believe, said Captain Lara Peterson, walking beside him. A year ago, we were fighting for our lives. Now we're helping to govern the galaxy. Morrison nodded. The hardest part isn't the fighting. It's what comes after. The transformation hadn't been easy. Hundreds of worlds that had been ruled by the Council for centuries suddenly found themselves free. Many didn't know how to govern themselves. Others were suspicious of any form of government. After generations of oppression, the Altarian worlds are still struggling, reported Dr. Helen Brooks during the daily briefing. They've been the Council's enforcers for so long, they're having trouble adapting to a world where they're not in charge. President Hayes, now serving as the first president of the Galactic Federation, looked tired but determined. What about the former Council members? Most are cooperating, Brooks replied. Commander Zethkar has been particularly helpful. He's providing intelligence about hidden Council facilities and helping us locate missing prisoners. The decision to offer amnesty to former Council members had been controversial. Many species wanted revenge for centuries of oppression, but the humans had insisted on a different approach. We're not here to punish, Hayes had told the Federation Assembly. We're here to build a better future, and that means giving everyone a chance to be part of it. Dr. Susan Clark was working on one of the most important projects of the new era, the Galactic Medical Initiative. For the first time in history, all species would have access to the best medical technology in the galaxy. The Council kept different. Species isolated from each other, she explained to her team. They prevented us from sharing knowledge and helping each other. We're going to change that. The project had already saved thousands of lives. Zephyrian healing techniques were being used to treat human diseases. Corthan medical technology was helping species that had been damaged by centuries of harsh treatment. Every species has something to contribute, Clark continued. When we work together, we can accomplish things none of us could do alone. Meanwhile, Dr. Martinez was leading the technology sharing program. The goal was to ensure that all Federation worlds had access to advanced technology, not just the privileged few. The Council used technology as a weapon, he told a group of young scientists from dozens of worlds. They gave some species advanced tools and kept others primitive. We're going to make sure everyone has what they need to thrive. The program wasn't just about sharing existing technology. It was about creating new innovations by combining the knowledge of different species. Humans are good at adapting and improving, Martinez explained. Zephyrians are excellent at long-term planning. Corthans understand energy systems better than anyone. When we combine our strengths, we can create things that none of us imagined. Captain Rick Turner was now in charge of the Federation Security Force. Unlike the Council's military, which existed to conquer and control, the Security Force was designed to protect freedom and help worlds defend themselves. We're not an army of conquest, he told his officers. We're guardians of liberty. Our job is to make sure that no one ever again has to choose between slavery and extinction. The security force was made up of volunteers from every Federation world. Former Council soldiers fought alongside their former enemies, united by a common purpose. It's strange, admitted former Council Commander Vexter, who now served as Turner's second-in-command. I spent my whole life fighting for the Council. Now I'm fighting for the beings I once oppressed. That's what freedom does, Turner replied. It gives everyone a chance to be better than they were before. The transformation wasn't perfect. Some worlds struggled with the transition to democracy. Others faced internal conflicts as different groups fought for power. But the Federation was committed to helping every world find its own path to freedom. We're not trying to make every world the same, Hayes explained to a gathering of Federation ambassadors. We're trying to make sure every world has the right to choose its own future. One of the most important changes was the establishment of the Galactic Council of Worlds. Unlike the old Council, which had been dominated by a few powerful species, the new Council gave every world an equal voice. For the first time in galactic history, announced Dr. Brooks, who had been elected as the first Speaker of the Council, every being has a say in how they're governed. The Council of Worlds met in a building that had once been a prison for political dissidents. Now it was a place where former enemies worked together to solve problems and build a better future. The irony isn't lost on me, said Nexus Unit Prime 7, who represented the artificial beings on the Council. We were created to serve without question. Now we debate and disagree and make decisions for ourselves. As the first year of the Federation came to an end, President Hayes stood before the assembled representatives of 400 worlds. The room was filled with beings of every size, shape, and color imaginable. A year ago, most of us were enemies, he began. We fought each other, feared each other, and believed that peace was impossible. Today, we stand together as equals, working toward a common goal. The applause was thunderous, coming from creatures who had never thought they would be free to express their own opinions. The Federation isn't perfect, Hayes continued. We still have problems to solve, conflicts to resolve, and challenges to face. But we face them together, as free beings who choose our own destiny. Dr. Clark, now serving as the Federation's chief medical officer, looked around the room. She could see former council members sitting next to the beings they had once oppressed. Former enemies were now friends and colleagues. We've learned something important, she told her colleagues later. Freedom isn't just about winning battles. It's about building something better in the place of what you've torn down. The humans had started the rebellion, but they hadn't finished it alone. Every species in the galaxy had played a part in creating the Federation, and every species would have a part in shaping its future. The Council ruled through fear, Admiral Morrison reflected as he looked out at the stars from his office window. We govern through hope. That's the difference between an empire and a federation. As the lights of the capital city twinkled below, Morrison thought about the journey that had brought them here. It had started with 12 alien ships appearing in Earth's sky, demanding surrender. Now, those same ships were part of the Federation fleet, protecting the freedom they had once tried to destroy. The galaxy is different now, he said to himself. And it's better? On Earth, children were learning about the war in their history classes. But they were also learning about the peace that followed. They studied the languages of other worlds, learned about different cultures, and dreamed of traveling to distant stars. My daughter wants to be a diplomat, Jake Morrison told his wife as they watched their child play with friends from 3 different worlds. She wants to help solve problems between species. That's a good dream, his wife replied. In our time, we solved problems with weapons. In her time, maybe they'll solve them with words. The Federation wasn't just about politics and government. It was about people from different worlds getting to know each other, share their cultures, and build friendships across the stars. We're not just allies, observed Captain Peterson during a cultural exchange program. We're becoming friends, real friends. The program brought young beings from different worlds to study together, work together, and learn from each other. Former enemies were becoming the best of friends. The Council kept us apart because they knew we were stronger together, explained Dr. Martinez to a group of students. Now we're proving them right. As the second year of the Federation began, new challenges emerged. Some worlds wanted to leave the Federation and govern themselves completely. Others wanted closer integration with their neighbors. The Federation had to find ways to respect both desires. Democracy is messy, President Hayes admitted to his advisors. But it's better than the alternative. The Federation's response was to create different levels of membership. Some worlds chose full integration, sharing everything from technology to defense. Others preferred loose association, cooperating on specific issues while maintaining their independence. There's no one right way to be free, Hayes announced to the Council of Worlds. The Federation exists to protect your right to choose your own path. The flexibility of the Federation system was one of its greatest strengths. Unlike the rigid control of the Council, the Federation could adapt to the needs of different worlds and species. We're not building an empire, Dr. Brooks reminded the Assembly. We're building a community. And communities work best when everyone feels welcome. 10 years after the war ended, the galaxy was almost unrecognizable. Trade flowed freely between worlds. Scientific discoveries were shared across species. Art and music from different cultures blended together in beautiful new forms. The Council tried to keep us separate, observed an elderly Zephyrian artist. They were afraid of what we might create together. Now we know why. The Cultural Renaissance was